Hi everybody. What I'm going to show you this time on our little video clip is how to put in a concealed zip, and this is going to be my way of putting a concealed zip. I know there's loads and loads of videos out there already showing you how to do this, and we're all a little bit different, we all do it differently, but this is the way I teach in class. So we've got a concealed zip here. A concealed zip or an invisible zip is one where the teeth don't show on the right side, or the teeth or the coils are on the wrong side of the zip. And all that should show when it's put in properly is the little tag at the top. If the tag isn't a really good colour match for what you're looking for, you can paint that with nail varnish, but preferably before it's inserted, not afterwards. So we have our zip and we have our fabric. This is a cotton with a bit of spandex in. This is for a skirt. So this is the centre back seam, and I've overlocked it off with a 3-thread overlock stitch. On the other side, where the zip is going, I don't know if you can see this because it's white on white, I have actually fused on a 2 centimetre wide strip of interfacing. The interfacing I've used is Viseline edge tape. If you can't get hold of that, just cut a 2 centimetre wide strip of interfacing, fractionally longer than your zip, and fuse it on. Why have I done that? I've done it to stabilise the zip area, so that where the zip is going, it doesn't stretch, and that is really important. So, next question before we start putting the zip in is, where's the zip going to go? Are you going to have the top of the tape to the top edge of the fabric? Are you going to have the top of the puller to the top edge of the fabric? How do you know where to position it? The easiest way to do this is to measure. You've got a seam here. The seam may well be for a facing or a waistband, and the seam allowance on this is 1.5 centimetres wide, which just happens to be the same width as my tape measure. Check your tape measure, girls and boys. Sometimes they are 1.5 centimetres wide, which is great. And I've put a pin in there, so I know I'm going to have a seam there. And if the seam's there, I know my fabric's going to take that much to turn to the other side. So what's known as the turn of the cloth. The thicker the fabric, the more it takes to turn from one side to the other. So that's where my seam's going to be, and my zipper, when it's done up, needs to sit just below that. Not too low right down here, not too high so it gets stuck in the seam, just below it. And that's a bit of a judgment call, about 3 mil. Edge of the zip tape to the edge of the overlocking stitch. Keeping your zip done up at this stage, and pin. Stretch it over your fingers as you pin, so you're stretching the zip tape a little bit, and pin all the way down, keeping it in line with the overlock stitch, and you'll find that brings the teeth, the centre of the zip, exactly on the 5/8 mark. You then need a zip foot. Now, you will not put a concealed zip in without a proper foot. This is a Janome sewing machine, so this is a Janome concealed zipper foot. It's got a little stitching finger here, and underneath it has got 2 really, really deep grooves. So the grooves are going to hold the zip out so we can stitch underneath it. So we'll pop the foot onto the machine. We now take that pin out, undo the zip. You could press your zip open if you want to. Some people do. I don't. I just hold it open, and we are going to start stitching where that plastic stop is. Don't stitch this part. We're going to start where the stop is. And if you look carefully, you can see that it's fitting quite nicely underneath the groove in the foot. Put the foot down, needle in. And if it's not in the right place, you'll find it won't feed through nicely. So that's feeding through. A couple of back stitches, and I mean a couple. We don't need to back stitch all the way, just a couple of stitches. And that stitching finger, look, is holding the coils open. I'm not having to do anything to them. And I'm going to stitch down all the way until the stitching finger hits the puller, and a couple of reverse stitches. and cut off your threads. Take that out. I've now got one side of my zip in, so do it up nice and neat. I'm now going to put the other side of the skirt to it, and you do this while the zip is done up. If you try and undo the zip at this stage, you're liable to get it all creased and tangled up. The seam is still not stitched, and we're going to match it at the top. So if you've got a dart or a seam, you'd match that. Match it along the top edge, and you'll find the tape again comes in line with the overlocking, and we can just stretch it out over our fingers. Put some pins in. Once I'm happy with it, then and only then do I undo it. And as before, open that plastic stopper out. Sometimes these are a bit tough to get out. And I've put a bit too much plastic sealant on them. And you're going to start down the other screw of the foot. Put the reverse stitches and off you go. Keep it in line with the overlocking. And let's have a look. Do it up. One concealed zip, and all you can see is the puller. That's how it should look, but we've now got this issue here. So what do we do with this? Bring your seam together, pull the end of the zip out. 2 rows of stitching into one don't go. Put some pins in. And I do put my pins in backwards sometimes like this. I know you're supposed to have the heads on the other side, but I think I'm a bit dyslexic with pins. Take that foot off. Put your regular zipper foot on, and we're going to move the needle to the side of the foot. But there has to be a little gap now. You've got 2 rows of stitches coming down. They're going to go into one row. There has to be a little tiny gap between this row of stitching and the next row of stitching. You only want a gap of about 2 or 3 stitches. And don't worry, you're not going to have a gap in your skirt. It all works out in the end, but you need a little gap for the fabric to sort itself out. So the zip tape's there, needle goes in there, and you're going to stitch down at 5/8. If you don't like stitching with the zip foot on, then stitch a little way and take your work out from under the machine and change the foot. I'm not going to go all the way to the bottom because I don't think you want to sit and watch me making a seam. But here, what we've got on this side now is a perfect seam. And what we've got on this side is a little gap here. What's now going to happen, we cut that thread off and that thread off. I'd press that and the end of this zip tape, because you don't want this waggling around inside the garment, we are just going to secure with the zip foot. And you just stitch it to the seam allowance on either side. That stops it moving, and it also stops that little gap between the zip and the seam getting any bigger. And there you are, a concealed zip. Nothing shows, undoes easily, and I've got room at the top now to put my facing or my waistband on. Next time, we're going to look at how to sew some of the new fabrics we've had in the shop, because they're just that little bit different, and we're going to look at some different seam finishes. Bye.